Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, the Director of BIM Development here at CTC Software. And in today's session, we're going to be continuing the HIVE CMS Admin Learning Series, focusing specifically on how to work with shared saved searches. We're going to build on the concept of saved searches that we've discussed in the User Learning Series, and we're going to review it a little bit today as well. Now, as always, of course, these webinars are recorded and will be going up to our YouTube channel, and this one will specifically be getting placed into the HIVE CMS Admin Learning Series playlist on that YouTube channel. We encourage you to check that out and subscribe to it so you can get notified when these new videos go live. Those of you who are participating live with us in the webinar today, of course, we answer questions live throughout the webinar. So if you do have questions on this topic, I encourage you to throw them into the GoToWebinar's questions window, and I'll try to answer them live, but I also save a Q&A session for the end. So feel free to queue up your question and get it ready to send when we jump into questions mode as well, if you don't want to ask it in line. Either way. Well, with that, let's jump in. So in today's topic, we're going to be talking about saved searches, and they really are a fantastic tool to help you efficiently find the same content over and over again. And not just the same content, the same filters run to find the latest and greatest content over and over again. And now, you may have some of your own efficiencies that you've developed for yourself, and maybe as BIM managers or CAD managers, you've seen the rest of your team kind of run specific searches over and over again as well. And maybe you want to share some of those searches with everybody on the team or a specific subset of people on the team. And that's great, because in this webinar, that's our whole focus. We're going to dig deep into that particular advanced concept of working with sharing your saved searches with anybody, any group of people in your company, so that your whole team, as relevant, can benefit from those shared saved searches. So we're going to cover 4 specific topics with one sort of bonus topic in the mix. We're going to talk about naming conventions for saved searches in general. We're going to talk about taking saved searches and converting them into shared saved searches. We will talk about updating existing settings for searches that are saved and sharing those, of course, as well. And we're also going to talk a little bit about managing the distribution of those with other users in the firm, and kind of how best to control that depending on discipline or software product or you name it. There's a lot of different ways you might choose to do that. So we'll kind of cover all of those topics. We will piggyback on some of the other topics we've discussed already in detail in other sessions. You can go back and review them for more detail, but we'll kind of highlight some of the necessities for this today. And since I'm not big on death by PowerPoint, we're going to go in and start talking live about these concepts, focusing first on creating new searches, saved searches, and the naming conventions that surround them. So I'm going to jump into the HIVE CMS, and I'm signed in right now as an administrative user, so I have the ability to save, of course, my own saved searches, which all users will have. But because I'm signed in as an administrator, I also will have the ability to share those searches. And so we'll be using this account throughout. Now, if you are working in HIVE as well alongside me and you want to follow along, fantastic. You can do a lot of the same things that I'm going to be doing, though your explicit filters might be just a little bit different. Pick ones relevant to you. So in HIVE here, we already know that, in fact, I'm just going to pull this to the side here so it's a little bit bigger, and we're covering up the partial word of convention. So naming, we're talking about naming here. First, let's create a search that perhaps we will want to save. So maybe I'm not really caring about a specific search string, though that can absolutely be saved in a shared search or a saved search in general. In my case, I'm going to start a little bit on the high level side. And in fact, in today's example, and this works both for Revit or AutoCAD, but I'm going to focus on some of the new AutoCAD functionality that's available here, doing explicitly AutoCAD content and filtering for some specific things here. Like maybe what I want is all the things that relate to alignments. And so you can see here, I have a whole bunch of items in the mix here that are all alignment based. spirals, curves, and whatnot for tables. There's some styles. There's some label styles in the mix here. And I'm going to highlight all of those items. In fact, let's get just these ones here that are specifically around the labels. I could type it all out, but I don't feel like it, so I'm just going to grab the labeling here, alignment labels. So me checking all these boxes, right, it doesn't take that long, but if I wanted to do this repeatedly and have alignment labels constantly able to pop up for me very quickly, very easily, when I apply this, and this comes back with whatever the search results happen to be for those alignment labels, what I'm going to ultimately do here is save my search criteria, which will effectively be everything. It's searching for everything that is exclusively AutoCAD content and specifically associated to one of these categories down here. Now, if I wasn't doing this for AutoCAD, but instead doing this for Revit, I could do only Revit content and I could choose Revit categories. It's the same exact concept. It doesn't really matter. Same basic theory. So let me just re-grab these because I cleared my search criteria when I did something else there. So let's just recheck all this, and I've already applied it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the search. Important note here, when you save the search, you're not saving the results of the search. What you're saving specifically is the criteria that I am searching for everything, that I am searching across all of my libraries and all of my tags for any AutoCAD content that relates to these AutoCAD categories. That's what I'm really saving. So when I save this, I'm going to create a brand new search that is ACAD. Let's do a space here, and we'll kind of see how this kind of aligns later. In fact, if I want to see my current naming conventions, I can see that I typically have some kind of pre-descriptor here that indicates what I'm searching for, and then perhaps some of the category information related to that. And then after that, in parentheses, if I have any explicit subfilters like version year or like a specific search string, I like to include that. And so since we're talking about naming conventions, while I'm creating this search, I'm going to go ahead and create AutoCAD-based search. I'm going to abbreviate that to make it a little bit shorter for alignment. If I could spell alignment, there we go, alignment labels. And that's it. That's all I'm filtering for. So it's AutoCAD alignment labels. In this case, I can give it a description if I want to be a bit more clear about it, but this is just saving a search for me. That's all this is doing, is saving a search for me. So I can go ahead and hit save, and this is just a saved search that I can use whenever I want to recall this exact same search criteria. So if I was to clear these results and this goes and finds me everything across every library with no filtration, of course, that's going to be tens of thousands of objects potentially. If I drop this list down, one of my search results here is an ACAD alignment labels. That's a basic saved search that I can use. You'll notice a little bit of a distinction here. Anything that is my personal search has just the name. Though there's another one here like CTC doors that has this little building icon with multiple people on it. That is a shared saved search. So this is one that's shared with multiple people. Now I can rerun my AutoCAD alignment labels here, and it will rerun with exactly the same criteria. Searches everything that is AutoCAD, and it should have had set those AutoCAD categories. Interesting that it didn't reset that. Let me just recheck these real quick and apply that. Maybe it was because I did something squirrely with my save search earlier. So in this case, if I wanted to save this and share this with everybody, what I will ultimately be doing is creating a brand new search that is a shared search. So to do that, what I'm going to do is save this again, same process, save it. I could choose to overwrite my existing search if I wanted to overwrite its criteria with what I have just done. But instead, what I'm going to do is make a brand new one, because when I make a new one, you'll notice that there's a little change down here. Because I'm an administrator, I have the ability to share with my organization. I can't do that when I'm overwriting an existing search. I can do that when I make a brand new search. Now, I can give it the same name, ACAD, alignment, align. I really can't spell. That just that letter combination messes with me. Labels. And now I can share with my organization. And if I check this box, then it gives me the ability down below to choose groups of people, groups within my organization to share with. So if I choose select groups here, this will list out every single one of the groups that has been defined in my portal. These are the same groups that help me control who can access what licensing in CTC's cloud shared licensing. These are the same groups that I can use to allocate access to specific libraries and control the interaction with those libraries. So these groups are incredibly powerful and can spread out and touch a lot of different things within the CTC software ecosystem. In this case, with this particular search, what I would probably want to have is a CAD user group here in the list, which I don't currently have. So for right now, I'm just going to cheat, and I'm going to share this with everyone because I don't have an AutoCAD users group or a Civil 3D user group. I might have a discipline Civil that I throw into the mix here in a moment, and we'll talk about that here very shortly. But first, I'm just going to share this with everyone. I'm going to select that group and go ahead and save it. So I now have an AutoCAD alignment labels group that's been made. That is a shared saved search, shared with everybody. You can see it right here. I still have my own, and we're going to talk about cleaning this up later, but I now have one that is shared with the whole company and has its criteria, and anybody in that everyone user group as it stands right now can run that particular saved search. And you'll notice that there's others here as well. There's CTC doors, there's CTC walls interior, and let's just run one of these so you can see some of the properties take effect live here. This is running a search. Instead of for everything, it's specifically asking for INT or interior walls because that's a part of my corporate naming convention, the INT kind of value in the name. But then it also has, and now some of my walls here probably have an interior flag set on the wall definition type that I wasn't clean about configuring. So even though the name says exterior, it's still marked in its data properties as an interior wall. It just shows up way later in the list. Because it's not a part of the actual type name. But it's looking at a particular library of content, in this case, my Revit Content CTC Express tools. Out of all of my libraries, it picks that one out in particular. And then down here, it's filtering for the Revit category of walls. And so it finds me all of the interior walls, and it's only returning Revit content that's in that particular library. This saves me as an end user a whole bunch of time in building this type of search up from scratch. And now this is distributed to a number of people in my firm, probably my discipline architecture team, since not everybody would need this. Okay, so that's how you can create a new shared search. You simply save a search, and if you have the admin rights, you can check the box to actually apply that to multiple groups or to a single or multiple groups. Next, what I want to focus on here is how you can edit existing shared searches and doing a bit of managing of your searches inside of your saved list. So to do that, you can do this both for your own searches and for corporate shared searches. Over here on My Saved Searches, if I click to this, you'll actually see a list of all of the different searches that are available. And now in this case, I'm going to quickly just run a refresh to make sure that my AutoCAD stuff is showing up here as well. In this list, I'm seeing my ACAD alignment labels. This is a shared search. I can select on this and I can edit it. This allows me the ability to edit the name of the search. It allows me to modify which user groups it's actually associated to. And we're going to modify this here in just a moment because I want to come back and make a new user group that's more appropriate for this. So I don't have to rerun the search and resave a new search. I can simply edit the search that already pre-exists. This lets me edit the data about the search, things like the name, the description, its existence, because I can delete searches from here as well. For example, my saved search that is not a corporate shared saved search, the one that's just my own personal one, I want to get rid of this out of my list now, since this is the one I want to continue to manage. So I'm going to take this ACAD alignment labels that's not shared. It does not have that little building logo next to it. I'm going to simply delete that from my list, and now it won't appear in my list, and certainly won't have appeared in anybody else's list either. All right, so Let me see here. Anything else about these that I want to talk about? No, I think that's it. The basic editing here is you select one of your shared saved searches or your own personal saved searches, and you simply click the edit button and it will let you kind of see the details. Now, again, notice that once a saved search has been saved and not shared, you won't be able to share it from here. You'll have to execute that and then resave it as a new search that is a shared organization-wide shared search, and then pick the groups, and then you can choose whatever groups you want from that point forward. Okay. So, and to get these created one more time, just one last kind of run through this. You run whatever the search criteria is you want, and you save it. You hit the little save button, you give it a name, a new name, and then if you want it shared or not, you check the box. So that's kind of the whole major portion of this is save a search, share it, choose the group. Now, there is an important thing here. You will want to manage who can actually see these shared searches across the organization. You want to control that visibility. What groups of people can actually see these shared saved searches when you start to share them? In my example here, I shared my search for the AutoCAD alignment labels with everyone. And now my civil department here for me maybe is rather small. Maybe for you it's much larger and your architecture department is much smaller. But each of the groups of people are going to have their own kinds of filters that they need to work with. And you absolutely do not want people to see more in this list than they need. It's just unnecessary. It muddies the waters and makes it difficult for them to navigate. So I want to be sure that I'm getting the right people to see this group. I don't want everyone to see it. Now to do this, I have to create a group in my portal that I can associate users with, and then I can update this saved shared search to that group of people. We'll go back and do that in a minute here. First, I got to create that group. So in the portal, I'm already logged in. I've signed in over here as my ctcexpresstools.com little fake company that I use for demonstrating how Hive works. And I happen to have already navigated to the users and groups area within here because I have the rights to do so. You'll have to have those rights. And then also, I've navigated to the subtopic here of the user groups. This list of user groups right here is actually 15 long, but it's the same list of user groups that I had inside the Hive environment to which I could associate shared saved searches and libraries and licensing and, right? These groups are useful everywhere. And as long as I put a person in one of these groups, they see all the related stuff that that group has access to. So I'm simply going to create a new discipline-specific group. And here as well, it is important that you maintain your naming conventions. You can see I have a pretty strict naming convention here where I have a DI prefix for all of my disciplines. They're all clustered right here at the top. I'm also suffixing this with my corporate initials here in this case, the CTC Express Tools account. And then I have a bunch of roles-based ones down below. And I have one rogue group here that I made during a demonstration not long back, and I didn't clean up after it, but it's a managers group that will be deleted here momentarily. But first, I'm going to go ahead and make a new group. This group is going to follow the same naming convention, DI dash, and I'm going to call this civil dash, and I might even get subtopics here. I might have, civil survey or civil design or, whatever. But in this case, I'm just going to say civil space and then in parenthesis CTCE just to kind of group this cleanly, because later on a future feature of the Hive environment will be able to have groups for invited users from outside companies, and I will probably want to be able to distinguish which team members I'm dealing with. And in my case, all of my corporate groups are all labeled as my corporate initials. I'm not going to give it a description today. I'm just going to go ahead and create this. This will create the definition, and that's as far as I have to go here, though this will pop up the edit group and allow me to associate some extra rights with this as well. Now, we have a whole topic already pre-saved to our Hive admin learning series about administering groups and naming them and associating members. So in today's example, I am not going to go over that. I will encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and view that other topic that already covers it in great, glorious, gory detail. So I'm just going to close this out. That's good enough for me because I now have that discipline civil CTC Express Tools group right here. And now back in the in the Hive CMS environment over here, if I go back to my saved searches, I should be able to take this AutoCAD alignment labels right here, edit this, select which groups it is I want, and already that Discipline Civil CTC Express Tools group is sitting here, and I can select that. Anybody in that group will now see it. Now I still have the R Everyone group here, which is no longer appropriate for what I'm trying to do with this. So I'm going to remove the Everyone group and just keep the Discipline Civil group. The next time anybody signs into the HIVE CMS, if they're in this group, they will see this shared save search. And if they are not in this group, then they will not see this shared save search. Because I'm the author of it and I'm an administrator, I will see it no matter what. But my other team members who are not administrators and who are just designers or civil users will be the ones who see this. And the same thing holds true for every other search that I have inside of here. For example, my CTC Walls Interior search, if I edit this, you'll notice this is already allocated to the Discipline Architecture team that I have in my office. And you can do the exact same thing for yourselves. You can really help to control who sees which saved searches, and it provides a ton of value for them while they're working. Okay? So that is effectively all of the topic today. Now, in a moment here, I'm going to jump into a questions and answers period and answer any additional questions you have about anything we've covered in today's session. But for those of you who don't like to stick around for the Q&A session, I want to say thank you. We always appreciate when you do show up live and we get a chance or an opportunity to interact with you. It makes it more interesting for us, and we hope you'll come back to future CTC webinars. You can find them on our events page, ctcsoftware.com/events, or just navigate to the events page there, and you can sign up for those. We also encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, so in case you happen to miss one of our events, you'll still get notified when we upload one of our recorded webinars. So with that, have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you in our next presentation.